Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the language of big business, and today we're looking at F Industries and their recent shareholder meeting. Remember last time we talked about their expansion plans? Well, this report tells us how that might have gone, and if the team is still on board to make it happen. Alright, so this is a current report filed on September 10th, 2025, but it's talking about an event that happened on that same day, the annual meeting of shareholders for F Industries. This is where the big decisions get made and where we see who the company is entrusting with its future. F Industries is the main player here based in Nevada. They've got a commission file number of 0113301, which is basically their official identifier with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, their stock, the common stock, trades under the symbol RFIL on the NASDAQ global market. This is how you'd find them if you wanted to invest. This section is all about what happened at that shareholder meeting, specifically what the shareholders voted on. We're going to dive into those votes to see what the investors think. The meeting took place pretty recently in Parsippany, New Jersey, and the big news is that shareholders voted on 4 key proposals. That's a lot to cover, so let's break it down. First off, a good chunk of the company's stock, over 72%, was represented at this meeting, either by people showing up in person or by sending in their votes beforehand. This tells us that shareholders are paying attention and the company managed to get them engaged. The first proposal was to elect Cheryl Cefali and Robert Dawson to the board of directors for a 3-year term. This is really important. It's about who is leading the company and making the big strategic decisions for the next few years. Next up was a kind of a test vote, a non-binding advisory vote, asking how often shareholders want to vote on executive pay. This is often called a say on pay frequency vote. They're asking if shareholders want to weigh in on executive compensation every year, every 2 years, or every 3 years. Then there was the actual say on pay vote, where shareholders give their opinion on how much the top executives are being paid. This is also advisory, meaning the board doesn't have to follow it, but it's a pretty strong signal of shareholder sentiment. And finally, they voted to approve Cohn-Raznick L as their independent auditor for the upcoming fiscal year. This is a standard procedure to make sure the company's financial statements are accurate and audited by a reputable firm. Let's look at the results, starting with the directors Cheryl Cefali and Robert Dawson were elected, which is great news for continuity. Cheryl Cefali received a strong vote of confidence with over 4.7 million for votes and only about 312,000 withheld votes. Robert Dawson also got a similar strong endorsement with nearly 4.8 million for votes and just over 31100 withheld votes. Now, what's interesting here are the broker non-votes. There were almost 2.7 million of these. This happens when a broker holds shares on behalf of a client but hasn't received instructions on how to vote them. So these shares aren't counted for or against the proposal, but they do show a lack of active participation from some shareholders. Moving on to the frequency of executive pay votes, the shareholders overwhelmingly voted for an annual advisory vote on executive compensation. Over 4.5 million votes were cast for this annual approach, with significantly fewer votes for every 2 or 3 years. So what does this mean? The company is going to continue having that shareholder vote on executive pay every year. This shows a commitment to transparency and responsiveness to shareholder opinions. Now, for the actual executive compensation itself, shareholders approved it with over 4.7 million R4 votes. This is a positive sign that investors feel the executives' pay is aligned with the company's performance. There were some against and some abstentions, but the overall approval is strong. There were also almost 2.7 million broker non-votes. Here again, showing that some shares weren't actively cast. Finally, ratifying the auditor Cohn-Raznick L also passed with a very high number of all votes, over 7.4 million. This confirms that shareholders trust the auditors to do their job properly, and there were no broker non-votes for this proposal, which means pretty much all shares that could vote did vote. So to wrap up, F Industries had a successful shareholder meeting. The directors were elected. The company will continue with annual votes on executive pay and investor trust, and the auditor remains high. It seems like the company is on a solid footing from a governance perspective. Now, for my take, on one hand, the strong support for the directors and the advisory votes is a really good sign. It means shareholders are generally happy with the leadership, and how executive pay is handled. The high participation rate also shows an engaged shareholder base. However, those broker non-votes are something to keep an eye on. If a significant portion of shareholders aren't providing voting instructions, it could signal a disconnect or simply a lack of engagement with those specific proposals. While this report doesn't give us deep financial numbers like revenue or profit, it gives us insight into the operational health of the company from a shareholder perspective. The fact that everything passed with such strong support suggests that the current strategy and leadership are generally well received. It also shows the company is good at communicating and getting its message out to its investors. Overall, RF Industries seems to be navigating its shareholder relations well. Based on this report, the company direction appears to have investor backing, and the leadership team has been entrusted with continuing their work. We'll have to keep an eye on future reports for the specific financial results that will tell the whole story. What's your take on these voting results for RF Industries? Do you think strong shareholder support translates directly to company success? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit that like button to let us know, and subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. Don't forget to join our Discord community, linked in the description for more discussions. If you have any other filings you want us to decode, drop a comment below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.